Hello YouTube fans, this is Gardening with Vincenzo. We have a nice sunny day here. No rain, although it rained yesterday pretty good. Took some water in the basement. What a chore that was to clean up. I thoroughly understand folks that have been flooded out, and you have my sympathies. It was an all-day job cleaning that up. And right now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to point out how beautiful and how ornate the cinnamon basil plants are. They're a nice purple. I have a combination planting here. I have a dwarf cherry tree that I've put here amongst my grapes. I don't know whether you can see those, but I'll pan up. We've got grapes just everywhere on the grapevine, probably too many. I haven't been able to get back to pruning the grapevines. We have some tomatoes on the tomato plants. On the pots, I have them everywhere, strategically located. This is the other side of my arbor with the hanging baskets. And let's see if we can find any seeds off of these dwarf nasturtiums. I see some grapes hanging there. Some grapes hanging there. Nope, we got some grapes hanging. They're hanging everywhere, but they need a good pruning. And so I'm just going to walk along here, but I wanted to point out that cinnamon basil because it just is such a nice plant. We have our growth on the picnic table farming. Got tomatoes on everything. I wish they would have a little bit more. And I actually was taking some basil here, and I pulled up a couple white onions. My wife's in there making potato salad. We've got some mint, some basil, some cabbages yet. I have some red onions here that look like they're almost ready to harvest and dry out. Over here I have some tomatoes. And with all this rain, it's really popped out some of my other plants that are here. Now that is a Nikon blue hydrogenia. And the size of that bloom, you can't really tell perspective-wise from the video here. I'm looking in the camera, but I'm looking at it. That's as big as a basketball. That's beautiful. And over here, in my tall planting, what we have is what it's commonly referred to as blazing star. It gets a complete beautiful bloom. The butterflies and the bees love it. You know, for the pollinators, I see a bee right over here. Let's see if we can't get close up on him. There he is. That's a honeybee too. That's terrific. I'm glad to see them. And as you can see over here, we have some hollyhocks mixed in with the black-eyed Susans. And I have a couple different colors of the hollyhocks. I love hollyhocks. They're come in a variety of colors. It's a real nice tall plant, and this is my tall garden over here. I have two azaleas in here. I have another hydrogenia, some other bushes in here, some fruits. And as I was saying, with all the water, it washed out a lot of my mulch. So what I've done is I spent some time mulching yesterday to bring it all back to life. It looks fabulous. I'm always happy to do that. I like a neat, well organized yard. And here we are on the long side of the trellis garden. I put another post up in there. I'm going to get rid of that white piece of plastic pipe that's kind of sticking in my eye. And since I added the row of the flowers there, you can see that the marigolds and the dwarf sweet williams have filled that in very nicely. Now next year, those perennial dwarf sweet williams that I got from Baker Seed, another American success story, which I'm always happy to promote those. And I got them from them, as well as the seeds from Eden Brothers and the dwarf nasturtiums also, which I noticed a couple seeds. Now since the pines have gone from over here, I have a lot of pine lumber there. I'm going to make something out of those, maybe a table and chairs down there at the burner. So what I've done is I've mulched along here. My dead arborvitae are coming back to life, I'm happy to say, now that there's some extra sun. And there's the pool, which I haven't got to yet. I have all the supplies to redo that, including the paint for the deck and the side rails and the nylon plastic fencing and a liner and that type of thing. I just haven't been able to get to that. But what I did do, and it took me a while, was, I don't know whether anyone saw that other video. I said I have to get in there and do something about this hillside. I had a piece of broken fence. I had to do the fence. Well, I've mulched this entire hillside, and I debated, should I spray something like a grass and weed killer, and I just couldn't bring myself to do that. So what I did was I used about 10 rolls of landscaping fabric and probably about 30 bags, 40 bags of the red mulch, because I like the red. The red makes a nice touch against the green. And so that's been completed. And you can see all along here, I still have some repairs to do on the fence. I have something in mind for that. You can see my whole row of the tomatoes here in the pots. That gave me an extra row with that pine tree going down. I brought out my little windmill there, which I thought was nice. I'm going to put some solar lights on this hill strategically. I did take one of my rhododendrons, that's a pink one there, and I put them up here. I was going to use that for somebody who was requesting some landscaping services, because I just love the landscape. Nature is my thing. Howard, if you're listening, I'm not nature man. You can call me the plant whisperer. I thought that would be funny. Anyway, so we come down here, and I just trimmed my kiwi, which was getting overgrown, but you can see all my tomatoes in there. And I have another spot here with the tomatoes. One of the disappointing things, because I don't like to use insecticides, was down here where I have all of my cauliflower in my little bin that I made to secure it from the rabbits. But instead of the rabbits getting in there, the cauliflower eater bugs got in there. So they've really wreaked havoc in there. I'm not real happy about that. And I actually have some more. These are the rainbow tomatoes, cherry tomatoes that I had, and I put some of them up in pots. And on that hillside, I had to cut down several fruit trees, and so there they are. That's the brush pile from that. I have something that's called currants. This is a peach tree, got a couple peaches on there. Need to get down here and prune him. And this is a currant bush. I have it almost like a hedge. Got to get the ladder down here and do some trimming. Swinging over here, I have some major weed whacking to do down there in my fruit orchard. It just never ends. It truly does. You have to stay on top of it. And now I'm coming up to my other garden, which has tomatoes in it also. And I have some grapes up there. And you can see where the sun comes straight down here. I've strategically positioned my growing quadrants in zones within the span of the sun, the way the sun comes up. Now my sun comes up here, if you're looking at this one, to the right of the view that is here now, and comes high in the sky. You can see the amount of sun. It's probably about 11 a.m. here. So we come over here. I had my blueberries. I was a little bit disappointed because they didn't really sprout as much as I wanted. So the pine mulch, I come over and filled the rest of this with pine mulch again to keep it acidic. And there's my center there. I've planted some not nasturtiums. I've planted some hollyhock in there in a circle about every 18 inches or so in that inner circle. And there is a vine, a flowering vine that I have going up there. also a clematis. Actually, there's several different colors, which I always like. I like color, I like nature. I try to grow. I keep pretty tight ship on my yard. There's my beautiful red azalea. That thing is magnificent when it's in bloom. If you look at one of my other videos, you will probably see that in full bloom. And just having a glorious time here this morning. Already did chickens up. Now I'm walking around in the gardens. Got a nice batch of tomatoes here. I have a mixture of Rutgers. And let's see, do we have any patty pans in there? A couple tiny ones. I see another one a little bit medium. There's another one. And down here we have some other squash, and that chipmunk's in here really tearing things up. But there's my rainbow waterfall of the strawberries. So we've got plenty of more strawberries we're going to move around. I see I have some buds here on my Asian purple eggplant. That's the long skinny ones, and I'll be quite pleased to have them go up. When I'm out here weeding things, because you do have to weed even in the boxes, what I do is I pull up some greeneries interspersed with the other things, and I give them to my chickens so they have some fresh greens without letting them out here and really wreak havoc. They have a nice 20 by 20 that they fool around in. And so the clover I just intermittently pull out of here, and I have some different petunias in here. I try to make designs. They get a little out of hand sometimes, so you have to get in there and spend an hour thinning everything down, taking out what you don't want, doing a little weeding. But as I back up here, you can see the very well thought out positions of the gardens. This is a huge garden right here. This is a 20 foot by 20 foot right here, plus I added another 4 foot on the end, and I may actually add one more on the bottom of there, but maybe not this year as we get into the fall. And up here you can see where the foxglove has turned now to seed, and I'm starting to gather seeds. Now there will be a zillion of the seeds on the foxglove. I have a cherry tree in there, a dwarf one. Over here I have a peach tree. I try to keep them down low, and I have a couple more currant bushes. So it's a constant effort, but it's you know, I love nature. I like to have my place looking good. You know, I spend a good deal of time outside. It's healthy. You know, I do pretty good with somebody that has lung cancer, is diabetic, and has celiac. So, you know, sometimes when I think of people say, oh, I was brave enough to get up and get dressed today. Now you got to shake that off. You really do. I mean, we all have bad days, and I understand that, you know, depression is a real thing. You know, after my son passed, I hit a 2-year spot where I just was beside myself. I was just lost, so I understand. All right.